to the side and back. My name is Tokiko Uzuru, and this is probably my first video of the year and first video back after having to take a longer break when it comes to editing and posting videos. And while I've already talked about exactly why I stopped doing that, I think I also need to quickly address it first. Basically, editing became a stress for me. So I had to go ahead and take a break and also figure out exactly why it was a stress in the first place, and then figure out how I would be able to move forward. And originally my idea was to go ahead and just stream, because that eliminates editing altogether. But I also like the way that I edit and how it adds another layer of humor and comedy for me. So I basically just found I went back to my old way of editing. That aside, the main thing about this video is just I fell into a rabbit hole I probably should have fallen into a long time ago. The rabbit hole specifically is the mysterious yet wonderful world of K-pop music. Now, ground zero level information. One, I really like music and don't have a personal preference when it comes to music genres. Typically, I like seeing if I like a particular genre or if there's something in that genre that I don't necessarily gel with. However, there will always be that one song from each genre, even if I don't necessarily gravitate toward it, that I will be glad to have listened to. That is probably the most complicated way of saying that I like all different types of music, but there are definitely certain genres and songs specifically that I don't necessarily gravitate towards. Number two, literally just last year, I finally gave in after being peer pressured by the universe, I'm saying, to get into listening to BTS, specifically their music. And for me, listening to an artist or an artist group's music also means getting to know the artist behind the music. So while I was shoved down the side road to K-pop's international highway, I also just went through the gate, seeing as though I was there, and curiosity. So down the research rabbit hole I go. Now, even before having to deal with, again, being peer pressured by the universe 3 separate times, and the third time I was like, okay, I get it. Let me do this then. Let me make this decision. I had already listened to, at the very least, 3 separate K-pop artists, but the 3 specifically were solo. Well, 2 of them were solo artists. 1 I think was a group. I didn't look too further into that third one. And while everyone would probably, like, worldwide, everyone would know Psy, there's Hyuna and T-ara. Of course, Hyuna's Bubble Pop, that got stuck in my head for too long. And T-ara's Bo Peep. And I'm actually doing the little hand choreography that they did in the song. That, accompanied with my interest in, like, music in general, but, like, also Vocaloid / J-pop music, also kind of, like, assisted in pushing me down the K-pop international highway. To put that all into a summarized sentence, though I've already knew about a few songs from the K-pop industry, I would absolutely say that BTS was my official introduction, because it also had me doing research about the industry itself and all the little things that no one really thinks about at first. All of the behind the scenes when it comes to the industry, the music that gets produced, the idols that get debuted, how all of that works. Throughout that entire field research slash integration period, basically me getting into other K-pop bands, or as they classify them, idol groups, I have gathered a lot of information. And the main information, the main reason as to why I'm doing this video, the title of this video, is the surprising stark differences. Stark, is that a good word to use here? I've noticed some pretty much in your face, if you're actually paying attention. If you're not, it's literally just a snake and you're about to get eaten. Differences between the music industry that I'm used to looking into and the K-pop music industry in general. Now again, laying down some ground level information. I had already had my own generalized knowledge of like boy bands and how that entire field of the music industry worked, at least from a fan's point of view. I've also myself been in, at the very least, 2 different fandoms of bands that would be classified as boy bands. And that would be One Direction and Five Sauce. Yes, we are still pretty much in pain over 2016. However, some of us just forget. And also, more like ground level stuff, the way that I pick the people that the way that I pick the musicians that I listen to is similar to the way that I pick friends when I was in school. Mainly impulse until something tells me no. So while this is my personal experience, this is coming from my personal experience entering in the world of K-pop fans, or K-pop fandom as a whole, I would have to say that this is my personal experience. Side note, one of the main differences, specifically at the very least that I ended up feeling, is that it's on the surface, like if you're an outsider looking in and you don't quite understand, it seems so intense and aggressive how much the fans specifically care for the idols. While that also creates an entire different problem, depending on the idol slash idol group, that love and support is mirrored back to the fans. So while it is playing it, while the marketing wise, it is playing into the parasocial relationships that end up forming between fans and idol or idol group. Depending on said idol or idol group's morals, that love and support is reciprocated back to the fans, creating this entire bond of loyalty that probably definitely ends up getting abused. But I can't say by who. 1, because I don't know for sure, but 2, because I haven't had to deal with that personally. Now to the actual thing that I was doing this video about, and that is the differences that I've found between what I'm classifying as Western music, the Western music industry when it comes to bands and musicians that are more geared to a younger generation, and the K-pop bands and musicians that also seem to be catered to a younger demographic. And that is number one, when it comes to K-pop, the entire idea is either fan-centric or performance-centric. The idols are either putting things together for the fans or for the performance. And it's always with one of them or both of them at the center of the entire thing. For an example, I'm currently looking at it and I don't know why I didn't bring it over here as an example, but when you get a album by a K-pop artist, more often than not, you'll get way more in the album, like the physical album. I know for an absolute fact when it came to, I'd say Taylor Swift's albums, specifically 1989 and Reputation, because those are the ones that I currently have. There are a lot of special edition versions when it came to those. So like I didn't get the deluxe when it came to 1989, but even with the one that I got, it came with these little pictures that looked like they came from a Polaroid camera. I ended up getting 2 copies of the same album because the album itself was in a limited edition magazine type thing for Reputation. There were 2 different versions of said magazine, and I got both of them. That was simply the special edition for several different things. When it comes to K-pop albums, apparently there's a lot that comes with the album. It's not just like the album and the songbook. It's an album, a songbook, something else, a poster, things that are specifically classified as photo cards. And oh my gosh, those are basically like the Holy Grail. Essentially, they ended up turning their albums into little gacha games. Is it a gacha game? One of those surprise toy inside type things. And while that sounds like it's going to end up being one of those things that essentially boosts album sales, because you want to go ahead and either collect them all or you're looking specifically for a particular one of your favorite member, which is usually called a bias. Side note, if you want me to do an entire video of like a beginner's guide to K-pop, I will do that. I have enough information. But yeah, the album, the performances themselves, the light sticks, that's an entire thing. Everything seems to be either fan-centric or performance-centric. And there's pros and cons to that. Second one, the K-pop industry itself, when it comes to their idols, they have, the companies themselves have a higher level of control, which leaves a shorter leash for errors. And I understand exactly why they would need that type of high level control, but it still concerns me. Just thinking about things as they are concerns me. For example, there's this one particular male idol group that ended up having to basically kick a member out simply because of specific allegations that were attached to said member. And while I never looked into whether those allegations were true, the fact that they even popped up itself was enough to go ahead and get the member kicked out of the group. But yeah, as a whole, they just have overall less freedom to be human and to make mistakes. Let alone the fact that some of these K-pop artists started in this industry when they were very, very young. Third one, they actually have training schools. Schools specifically created to train people into um, being what would be classified as the picture perfect uh, idol. And they also have to do those training schools while also on you have to deal with those training schools on top of whatever actual academic stuff that they're doing. I don't know how to properly explain it because my brain can't wrap around the idea of the fact that they have training schools for how to become a K-pop artist or a K-pop idol. Because, like, over here, at the very least, over here in the US, I know they have schools for specific things. Like, they have art schools, they have performance schools. I get that. And I'm pretty, yeah, no, they have schools like that in South Korea. But, like, depending on the company, they have specific training that you have to go through before you get to actually debuting as a K-pop idol. And while going through these training schools themselves do not guarantee you get to debut. Even being picked by even being selected and picked by the companies themselves do not guarantee that you'll be able to debut. It sounds more like a factory, like creating and like molding a person into the way that they want them to be and being able to just push out a picture perfect idol image, which I'm now calling P2I2. And the last one I'll be talking about is how intricately the songs are typically written and whether they need to actually be as intricate as they seem. As I said earlier, everything when it comes to a K-pop idol or K-pop idol group is either fan-centric or performance-centric. So when it comes to the songs specifically, they also are either fan-centric or performance-centric. So they have certain songs that have very intricate choreography that also serves as another layer of meaning to the song, and then the music video itself adds another layer of meaning to the song. And as much as this is personally my haven because I love being able to analyze that deeply, sometimes the song topic can be misconstrued or misunderstood. And this is where you have to go ahead and keep in mind things like the country's customs and what they would allow to be said by their creations, otherwise known as the K-pop idols. Even funnier is the fact that not all of the idols and or idol groups write their own songs. It's less likely that female idols and female idol groups get to write their own songs. In itself, for me, come on, can we do better? However, that does not mean that there aren't those artists slash idols that do end up writing their own songs. There will always be people that go against what is typically sociably acceptable. And that's another thing that K-pop has. It basically started off as a rebellion, and it will only continue to become even more rebellious as they try to make it more streamlined, more factory-like. The bottom line is there were way too many in-your-face differences to how I've been used, the music industry that I've been accustomed to. And while it's definitely one of those culture clashes where it's just like, wait, people do this? Huh? As a person that really loves to go ahead and learn about other cultures and also loves music, so learning about music from other cultures is just like the best of both worlds for me. It's also eye-opening to see exactly how they deal with the way that the music industry itself works. Or, at the very least, ended up turning into working. But yep, this was a longer video than I originally anticipated it on being. But that's what happens when I end up going on an entire tangent about very specific examples of trying to explain the thing that's in my head without actually having it in my hand. Hopefully this video itself was informative to say the least, if not persuasive enough to have you look further into the K-pop industry itself, but like K-pop music as a whole. I will be doing more videos where I talk about my experience when it comes to finally getting into K-pop music. And like, I might end up having an entire video talking about exactly how I got to where I am when it comes to it. Basically explaining why I continue to say that I feel like the universe itself peer pressured me into getting into BTS. But overall, this is a good video back. I know I'm going to have a lot to go through. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna like having to deal with it. This feels like it's gonna take a good 2 hours to get through. By doing my stereo YouTube, I tried to do it and it just didn't work. So I will have to say it again. My stereotypical YouTuber outro, where I, as a stereotypical YouTuber, would ask you to do the following. You know when you've not done something for so long and you have to get back into doing it the way that you used to? Or at the very least, you have to relearn how to do it again. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of whenever I post or whenever I do a stream, because I'm doing that now. And leave your questions, comments, and concerns all down in questions, comments, concerns, and ideas for future videos all down in the comment section below. With all that being said, my name is Tokika Uzuru, also known as Toki, and this is Toki saying Toki out.